Why don't we try Nick from New York next? Nick, you're on the air.
Hi, David.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I was just wondering, I've been trying to ask you this question. What is the best way to pass voting rights legislation without the Supreme Court striking it down?
Why would the Supreme Court strike it down?
Like HR 1, conservatives like to argue that it's unconstitutional
Right. But
because,
conservatives often argue that things are unconstitutional and they're just wrong.
yeah.
What do they say is unconstitutional about HR 1?
They say that, well, they force states to, you know, change their redistricting rules and make them have all these sorts of things having to do with voting.
My position on this is make them prove it's unconstitutional. Make them actually do it, because just Republicans saying it's unconstitutional, to me, it's just not good enough. And if they actually want to fight that, make them do the work. I don't think it's a reason not to push for HR 1, and I hope it passes and put Republicans in the position of having to actually sue and appeal and appeal and appeal. I wouldn't be scared away by that.
But what makes, the federal government mandating that states change their election laws constitutional like
Well,
that?
the problem is the framing. So Republicans frame it as HR 1 would be the federal government telling states how to run elections. There's a completely different way to understand it, which is the federal government, much like with the Voting Rights Act, which was completely constitutional, can set basic parameters and guidelines that must be met by states for their constitutions to be considered fair and valid. And that held with the Voting Rights Act. And there's no reason to believe in particular that it wouldn't hold with HR 1. I mean, maybe aspects of HR 1 would be found unconstitutional, but the argument you're repeating is not a very strong one.
Yeah, I'm simply just trying to, debunk these these talking
Of
points.
course. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just make them prove it. Make them prove it is the point.
Okay. Um, and I would like to ask you another thing.
Okay.
Um, what is I am wondering, why don't you mention how Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema are bought out by corporations? I don't see you talk about that.
We do. I mean, I know less about cinema, but Joe Manchin and West Virginia business interests are something we have talked about before. I think maybe if you're not hearing me talk about it as much recently, it's sort of, I mean, I don't, it's not as much a part of the big picture if you have something where there are even more Democrats that aren't on board, or you need 60. So it's not even about just Democrats. But at least as far as Joe Manchin goes, we have talked about that.
All right. Yeah.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. One of our sponsors is Hydrant, which is a delicious fruit drink powder that you mix into water for rehydration. And they're giving you 25% off your first order. It's made with 4 key electrolytes that the body needs, powerfully supporting your hydration. Hydrant tastes great. It's made with real fruit juice. It's been a great part of my daily routine for a while now. Keeping myself hydrated puts me in a better mood. The body needs hydration for basic energy and focus, and Hydrant is the perfect way to rehydrate, especially because it's cost effective and lower in sugar compared to all of those popular sports drinks that are out there. You really have to try it for yourself to see what I mean. It tastes great. They also have a variety called Hydrant Immunity, packed with vitamins A, B, C, and D, which is also very much worth trying. Hydrant has a full refund guarantee if you're not satisfied, and you'll get 25% off your first order when you go to drinkhydrant.com/Pakman, or just enter the code Pakman at checkout. I've put the link right underneath this video.